I have missed talking to you. Now, it's been fantastic to have Andy on for the last several weeks. Jared's been on for the last couple weeks, but we haven't got a chance to sit down and talk. Now, I know you're behind the screen and then I'm on the other side of the screen, and this is really a one-way conversation, but you'll hear me say it's still a type of friendship, and I've got some things to tell you that I've wanted to tell you for actually quite a bit, and today's the day. If we are friends here on YouTube, you have heard me talk ad nauseum about Bible Lab. You know I can't stop talking about Bible Lab. Find out Bible Lab, in Bible Lab, Bible Lab members, Bible Lab, Bible Lab, Bible Lab, in Bible Lab. Let's take a little trip down memory lane when this seed of an idea started. I've had this idea floating in my head for about a year, but it's been in the last couple months that I started to feel a little bit of this like angst feeling that typically means it's time to start moving. And so I started talking to people about this idea. And the more I talked to people and the more I was exploring the idea, the more confused I got. And then the more nervous I got. If that Melissa in 2021 could talk to this Melissa in 2023, she would assume that I have it all figured out. She would be sorely mistaken. The goal of Bible Lab is to bring to you and to me experiential learning, learning that is exciting, learning that I own and you own and she owns. And when we bring it all together, there's nothing like it. That we actually use our head, heart, and hands for a holistic learning, a transformational learning. And from the very beginning, I've wanted that for myself, for my friends here around me, and for you. Now you may be thinking like, Melissa, well, mind your own business. I don't want it. So maybe you don't want it. But for anyone who would want it, that it would be possible for you to join your own circle. That has been the prayer from the very, very beginning. We had a lot of work to do. We had a lot of figuring out to do. We had a lot of discussing and exploring and creating and building and then smashing it and then starting all over again. Because we didn't just want a circle of women who read the Bible and then this is like, I think this is like a trigger for me. Maybe because I'm the queen know-it-all. And I've been there and done that so much, and I know how fruitless it is to just sit and just tell everybody what we already know. And then you listen to the next person and she tells you what you already know and we already know, and then it's the next person and the next person and the next person, which really, we're just kind of trying to show off our knowledge, right? It's such a waste of time because learning is actually about ignorance. Because to learn, you must acknowledge your ignorance and bridge that gap to what you do know. Learning is about making connections. And I wanted to be a part, and I wanted Bible Lab to be a place where we're ignorant and we're making connections, because that's learning. Let's fast forward to the fall of 2022. I started to get this just little hesitation. And with that little hesitation, I did not want to admit that maybe it was God, the Holy Spirit in me. I was hoping it was just my own insecurity. But it was like small little whispers of like, wrong direction. And I'm like, surely not. Lord, surely not. This is not the wrong direction. We are trying to create small little circles of Bible labs, right? We want to give curriculum to women to experience what we're experiencing. This is the plan. This is the plan. We're not going to verge from the plan. I'm not verging from the plan. I'm going to be persistent. I'm going to do this. All the while, this small voice saying, Melissa, wrong direction. I continue to ignore it. And when we hit January of 2023, it's no longer a whisper. It is like shouting in my ears, Melissa, wrong direction. So I'm meeting and I'm talking with Andy and I'm like, do we even do Bible Lab? Like, do we just scrap the whole thing? And she's like, Melissa, no, we are not scrapping Bible Lab. And I'm like, I just don't know. I just don't know if I can do this. I don't think it's working. I just don't think I can do this. Andy was like, what's happening? And I told her, I'm like, when we were creating the Job Bible study, it was like the summer of 2014, I think. It was so intense. I wanted to quit with everything in my being. It was so hard. But I knew with the Job Bible study that that is exactly what I was supposed to be doing. It is how it was supposed to go out, in video form and in workbook form. no doubt, even though I wanted to quit, I had no doubt. This felt different. This felt as if I was supposed to listen, but I was too scared to put Bible Lab up on the table and to say, okay, God, have I misunderstood? Is there something you want to say about Bible Lab to me? But I'm telling you, I just felt in January and in February, I couldn't do it. I could not ask God that question because I was so afraid of his answer. In mid-February of this year, so just several months ago, Bible Lab starts meeting again. And I'm in full, cover my ears mode and just be like, just plow ahead, just plow ahead, just plow ahead with a plan. And not only did Andy and I plow ahead with a plan, this is what I do when I'm not listening to God. Not only was I going to plow ahead with a plan, I was going to ratchet up the experience, meaning we did not really have sheets of paper or we weren't actively writing the curriculum. And I'm like, no, we are now going to start writing this darn curriculum for Bible Lab. If it kills me, we are going to get curriculum for this Bible Lab. So Andy and I start writing. Really how we operate is she does most of the writing. I'm not a writer. I don't really like writing. And then I was focusing on doing these little mini teaches that go within Bible Lab circle to sort of lead us, guide us, that sort of thing. If you could picture yourself in a stream that's maybe waist deep, but that you're walking against the current, it felt so hard. It wasn't, when you're in a zone and things are just flowing and it feels hard, but right. And you feel that traction and it's moving. This felt like walking upstream against a very strong current in the wrong direction. And here comes that voice again that I'm trying to ignore. And this time the voice came after one particular Bible Lab meeting. Actually, I can tell you the date. It was February 23rd. And that's because February 23rd is Andy's birthday. And we were meeting at her house. And her and we clashed like we have not in years. It was embarrassing because we did it in front of Bible Lab. And it's all about this stupid curriculum. So after that meeting, I'm like, Lord, in my spirit, I'm like, this feels like walking upstream and trying to make traction as best I can, but the current coming back at me, it's just impossible. What I sensed was, Melissa, right stream, wrong direction. You should be flowing with the Spirit. You need to turn around and swim with the current of the Spirit. You are going against the Spirit. You are operating in your own strength, which guess what? Is not working, which is why there's this clashing. My sense was him saying, because this is not of me. I've been trying to tell you. Here's where my fear comes in. And listen, it always goes back to an Office episode because I go to sleep every single night listening to The Office. And the particular episode that I feel like I was living in February of 2023, it's the episode where Michael has a new GPS. He's in wonder that the GPS will tell him where to go, and it always knows where to go. And so Michael and Dwight are driving along, and the GPS tells him to make a right.
Make a right turn.
Wait. No. It means bear right.
No,
up there.
It said right. It said take a right.
And Michael, thinking he's doing the right thing, listening to the GPS, drives straight into the lake.
Can't mean that. There's a lake there.
I think it knows where it is going.
This is the
the
lake.
machine
This
knows.
is the lake.
Stop yelling at me.
No, it's
Stop
up there.
yelling.
There's no road here. Remain calm. I have trained for this.
This is my fear with the Holy Spirit. Not that the Holy Spirit in me is wrong. I know he's right. I know his directions are always right. But will I be able to hear and interpret his directions to me correctly? That's what I don't trust. I don't trust my ability to hear him correctly. I'm trying my best, and I'm afraid I'm going to drive Bible Lab right into a lake. But here's the thing about the Spirit. He's so kind, and he's so patient with me. And as I'm struggling, it's growing in me, and I'm like, okay, Lord, okay, I'm going to put Bible Lab up on the table to say, maybe this is not it because it's not working. And I don't mean our group is not working. Our group was working very well. It was the reproduction of the group that we could not seem to figure out how that would work. And I'm like, maybe Bible Lab is just for me and some close friends in my region. Maybe it's not to be duplicated. Maybe that's what this is. And so I found Andy on a Sunday and I'm like, listen, we need to talk. And she's like, oh, great. So we sit down at a table and I'm like, you know what? I told her all that I just told you, that I did not think it was the enemy whispering in my ear. It had been happening long enough. I've lived long enough to know, I think, the difference between the spirit and the enemy. And the spirit is so persistent and the spirit grows louder. And there's just a certain kind of feeling. And I'm like, Andy, I think we need to put Bible Lab up on the table. I'm not sure this is actually going to be reproducible in the way that we think. And she said, what if, Melissa, we take the end product off the table? And what she meant by end product was the product that we're trying to create, which is the curriculum. She's like, what if we just take it off the table? And as soon as she said, take the curriculum, the end product off the table, I felt a 50-pound weight come off of me. And it felt so right of like, yes, I did not want to say it, but that is what I think we should do. We need to take the curriculum and how we saw this duplicating off the table. And maybe that makes me a failure. And maybe that makes me unable to do the thing that God has asked me to do. But I don't think I have it in me. I don't think this is what I'm wired exactly to do. And it's not working. We've tried and tried and tried. And at that point, we're looking at each other and thinking, okay, we are continuing our small circle of Bible Lab through 2023. That's a done deal. And maybe that's all it's supposed to be. And so we left that Sunday, both of us feeling like, yeah, I think so. I think we let it go. Isn't it always a thing that when we let something go, it seems to come back at us in a different way? Well, that's what happened. It was maybe 2 weeks later that I'm in Andy's living room. She's praying on her chair that she typically sits on, and I'm sitting on the couch. And for some reason, this is really unusual that I would have a huge whiteboard on my lap. I don't know why it was on my lap. Typically, it's like up against the wall somewhere. But I'm holding it, and I have a marker in my hand, and she's praying. And as she's praying, I start writing, and I understand something all at once. Have you ever had this happen? Where it's just like all of a sudden you went from not knowing to knowing, and it comes like in a package. And that's what happened. I write down on the board, Bible Lab weekend, October 2023. Then I put a few more Bible Lab weekends on into 2024. And in that package that sort of came all at once was the question of, what if instead of trying to do this large year-long curriculum, what if instead we had a face-to-face gathering here in our region, in the Lynchburg area, where women came into one big collective and sat in small circles as we experienced God and the Bible and ministering one to one? What if that happened on a Friday and Saturday? What if we experience God and learning and ministering in a way that we're changed? I mean, I'm changed. Andy's changed. Our original Bible Labbers are changed. You're changed. Because what makes Bible Lab special is each of the differences that come in a circle and combine together to be something so unique it can't be duplicated. And what if God does something in these circles that then we go back to our churches and to our own circles and we bring some of that back into our circles? And what if what you have, your gifts, your thinking and feeling and doing, what if you leave pieces of that for us that we then take back to our own circles? I want that. I want that from you. I want to be able to give that out myself so that as we're leaving, all of us are not just there to receive, we're also there to give, because that's what Bible Lab is. It is circles that both give thoughts, what we're learning, our perspective, our personalities, our point of view, our perspective of who God is and how we see him. That is so unique. We give that out and that is received. And on the other side of the table, they're giving back to us and we're receiving that. So my prayer, my hope is that after this weekend that's happening October 6th and 7th here in the Lynchburg region, that each of us who leave, we're going to be taking something that's like a little piece of many friends, a little piece of learning, and we take that collection of Holy Spirit birthed transformation, and we bring that, I bring that, you bring that, she brings that into her own circles, into her own church, into her own small groups or mom's group or work. And this, unlike creating this year-long curriculum, this feels right. This feels like, oh, I think Andy and I are both wired for a short-term weekend, not a long-term curriculum. That's just not how we're wired. And God is so kind and patient, and he gives it at the right time, when you're ready for it. And I just feel fully expectant of what he's going to do this fall. And I would love for you to be there. And I know that you may be miles away from here, but if you're even casually interested, I'm going to leave a link below. Go to that link and just plug in your email address so that you know as soon as registration opens. I hope to see you in the fall at Bible Lab weekend, experiencing the Holy Spirit as we gather together around the Bible, as we worship together, as we learn together, as we minister to each other, as we give and as we receive. I am fully hopeful that God will move. All right, friends, I'll see you next week.